joined. Thank you. Now the recording is in process. And so what we'll do is we'll have this recording available for folks that aren't able to come in today. And then, of course, if you wanted to watch it again, one of the reasons why we do events like this is to connect our members to other members and new business opportunities, and also to make them familiar with the world. You know, we've done a few of these. In fact, we do this event every 2 weeks on different metros around the world, typically 5 metros at a time. And we started out by doing different places. Like I think the first one was Warsaw, Poland, and Houston, Texas, and Tallinn, Estonia, and different places where we have people. And they talked about what's business like in those areas. And then we started doing ones about specific countries and the different areas. So we did Kenya and Nairobi, Mombasa and Eldoret, and then other places within Kenya. And then we did, I think the premier one, honestly, was the one for South Korea. If you do business in South Korea and you have an interest there, I strongly recommend you see that one. It's both women who did that event and led that event are from Busan, South Korea originally, which was where I actually did my first international trip 35 years ago to Busan, which is near Ulsan, where the Hyundai plant is, and then to Seoul, et cetera. So that one had some emotional connection for me, but also they did so well in explaining the different opportunities and the cultural aspects. And then we had a retired Kotra executive who I've known for a dozen years, who's starting our Seoul chapter, Dr. Yun, talk about Seoul and also business overall. So definitely check that one out. I'm sure this one will be great as well, because we're going to kick off. We've got 3 people lined up that are all amazing. And then I see some amazing people in the audience too. The first person we're going to go to is in Vancouver, but Rob Arthurs really knows Canada and he knows it really well. Rob, I thought I saw you here. For some reason, I don't see you. Are you there? Oh, there you are. Okay, great. I really enjoyed the videos that you've been doing, and hopefully you can share with us in the chat area too about what that aspect. I know you're collaborating with Limor, who's also on the line as well. Why don't you kick us off, give your thoughts around Vancouver and any other aspects of Canada, and then for this session, we'll go through the 3 presentations, probably take some questions and comments along the way, and then we'll have time at the end, quite a bit of time, I hope, or I expect, that anybody can chime in. I know I've talked to several of you about having you speak and talk about your ideas about business opportunities and also other aspects of doing business in Canada. So Rob, without further ado, why don't you kick us off?
Good, thanks, Doug, and good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming, and we appreciate you coming so early in the morning to get here, or for some that are coming from other parts of the world. Thank you for participating. I'm Rob Arthurs. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been self-employed since right out of high school, when I started an oil field trucking company right out of school. I had a 1-ton truck that I took deliver parts around Alberta, but I'm not going to get into my bio because it is, Doug so politely put it on the information sheet that you came to. So let's jump into what I do. I spent, in part of my entrepreneur, I got headhunted by the British Columbia government to help them with the Olympics, using my database, my extensive contacts globally, to help the gypsies who travel with the Olympics, to help them find local suppliers. And I did that, helping them find different products that they needed. Great example of that is they needed 1 million square meters of tent to build temporary structures. And they thought they would never find that anywhere in Canada. Well, lo and behold, in their own backyard, a company called Tentology, who makes all the Cirque du Soleil tents and all that, happens to be in our own backyard. So from that day forward, they knew that they could probably get what they wanted in our own backyard, and trying to keep rubber off the road to meet sustainability goals. But part of that whole thing was sourcing food from around the world, because we had a new mandate on giving think food to the Olympics that was safe and didn't have any hormones in it. And I stayed with the government after the Olympics too, because my clothing company was a major exporter in Canada. We were one of the 100 fastest growing businesses in Canada. And after the Olympics, I stayed on and developed a program called Strategies of International Business to help small SMEs to get involved in trade. And that helped started my big trade. I was already involved heavily. I was involved in NAFTA with textiles, with Canada's agreement in helping rewrite some of the.
Rob, you're muted. I think you muted yourself.
Okay, I don't know. It said the host muted me, so I don't know what I said. Anyway, on that note, I stayed with the government to help them develop an international trade program, and that's what I did for the last 7 years after the 2010 Olympics. I stayed to help develop an international trade program for Canadian businesses to help them export. I was heavily involved with the Vancouver Board of Trade while I was an entrepreneur. And I did a lot of stuff with their membership and marketing and trade missions to China and to Japan. But those days are long gone. What I see right now, and here's a plug for the Global Chamber, is what we're doing here makes what I was involved with the Vancouver Board of Trade look like kids play. This is a completely different format, and this is truly trade rather than just having a speakers bureau, which is what most boards of trade or chambers of commerce have become, is a speakers bureau where you go have an expensive lunch. The climate around Vancouver is very interesting because we are a port city. We are the third largest port in all of North America. We move 2/3 of all Canada's goods out of the country, whether it's grain from Saskatchewan or different commodities. Anything going to Asia will come out of the port of Vancouver. So it makes a very, very strong picture for anybody that's involved in trade to do manufacturing in British Columbia, here in the West Coast, to get their products on ships and out the door to Asian ports. Our biggest sectors right now that are growing, of course, is film. We're the third largest film producer in North America, if not probably the world, behind maybe fourth behind India. But we do produce a lot of films here in British Columbia. So anybody involved in digital media, clean technology is very big. And I'll stop for just a second on that. Is one of the things in British Columbia, people don't realize that Greenpeace started in Vancouver many, many years ago. We started a food revolution now. So your Beyond Meat burgers and all that sort of things sort of are byproducts of what spun out of the Olympics, because we had to feed people that didn't eat meat with vegetables and vegetable type products. So in 2008, there were many companies that were doing vegetable protein products, and we fed those to the Olympic athletes. So the food revolution is starting here. The lifestyle in British Columbia, you see two great brands globally right now that have grown substantially. Both Lululemon and Arc'teryx are Vancouver brands that had started in Vancouver and grown substantially. That tells you about the outdoor and the yoga. So we're very lifestyle driven. We typically don't get the winters that we get across the country. By the way, I am a former Edmontonian. I lived in Edmonton for half of my life and the other half now in Vancouver. So I understand winter. I know what it's like. This is very much a lifestyle driven, where we normally could go skiing one day, golfing in the afternoon, or sailing in the same day. But that sort of weather with climate change is sort of changing things right now. We've had the strangest winter ever this year. And I won't get into that sort of stuff, but that's a bit of an overview of British Columbia. And I hope, hopefully that I tell you that not to impress you, but to impress upon you some of the background that I've done. I've helped many, many companies. My consulting practice right now, Robert Arthur's International, which I'll put in the chat. I help new immigrants. I also do joint venture, help foreign companies and foreign entities find joint venture partners in Canada so they can piggyback on Canada's 51 trade agreements that we have globally. So to give you an example like that, I'm doing some work right now with the government of New Zealand to help New Zealand companies partner with Canadian companies They will take their Manuka honey from New Zealand, bottle it, label it here, and qualify as a made in Canada product with New Zealand ingredients, and that will go into Europe and qualify for free trade for Europe. So we do a lot of that stuff. That's my background, is trade. I try to put together joint venture partners. I'm doing another deal with the government of the Netherlands where we're doing agri-tech, and we're taking life sciences that have gone into agri-tech, and we're working with that. And of course, with the Global Chamber of Commerce, I'm working very closely with two people from the Global Chamber of Commerce in Israel right now, where we're looking that we're going to do some work with some clean technology that is Israeli, and we're partnering them now with a Canadian company to qualify it as a Canadian-Israeli joint venture, which allow them to open the door to access Canadian funds and access to Canadian universities for further studies. So
Amazing.
I'll park it there.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I think what we'll do is we'll just go one speaker after another with the three that we've got lined up, and then we'll open it up, and that should give us about a half hour. And so for any of you, then at that point, I'll just open up the mic and feel free to jump in and give your comments and thoughts. Rob, really great overview. Thank you for your positive comments about Global Chamber as well. We don't want to be that place that just puts your logo up on the wall and think that's value. The connections are really what it's all about at Global Chamber. And I know most of you know that. There are a couple of folks that I invited from my LinkedIn profile that are not familiar with Global Chamber. So thanks to several of you who have joined in, and hopefully this will give you a flavor of the quality, professionalism, and capabilities of the Global Tribe, and certainly the things that we get involved with, which is it's all about connections. It's all about a trusted network around the world wherever you're doing business. Rob, thank you very much. The saddest day for me in Global Chamber, I think, was when Mayor Ayesha told me that she and her husband were leaving the United States, because at that time she was an executive director for Global Chamber, and she was just one of the most amazing people to work with. She took over the Global Chamber Salt Lake City chapter, and the reason why I have a connection to that city and why I really admire what she was able to do there was that I'm from University of Utah. And so I decided that the chapter president, the executive director, should be from BYU. That's the big kind of contrast, the two universities. I thought, I know everybody at the Utah community. I need somebody from the BYU community. And we went through two executive directors with not good success, just like lots of frustration. It's like, yikes, what's going on here? There's got to be somebody from BYU who can do this work. So Maher came in, and she's not from Utah or BYU. She came in and she just cut right to the chase. She grew the chapter. She was doing great. And so when she said she and her husband were leaving the country, it was so sad. And so Maher, we really miss you, and thank you for joining us today. You're now in Windsor, Ontario, and you're doing amazing work. It's so impressive to watch what you're doing. Could you tell us a little bit about what you see from Windsor and for Canada, and the fact that you've got so many different countries in your background should give you a really fresh perspective on it as well.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for your kind words. And I cannot, of course, piggyback on what Rob Arthur is doing. What he is doing is simply impeccable, amazing. What little I've done in my life is try to be the citizen of the world. And that's why I was part of Global Chamber and did an amazing bonding with Doug and worked along with Salt Lake City. It was amazing 3 years, and we grew the chapter a lot, and I had a lot of fun. And then we did a little work in Chengdu before I came here in Windsor. Ontario, and I'm looking forward to how we can bridge the gap between the US and Canada through the Ambassador Bridge. There's a lot of trade happening here and a lot of businesses through new immigrants and other as Rob said, 51 treaties to the world from Canada. So I'm looking forward to see how we can all amalgamate our forces here and try to do successful and seamless business throughout our tenure here in Global Chamber.
Fantastic. You're involved now with real estate, and the market there is really hot, isn't it?
Yes, it composes of 59% of our GDP in Canada. And I'm also a business broker and a commercial real estate broker. So we do a lot of work with businesses for sale, and a lot of like a Vancouver company who makes Keurig and other companies one cup capsules have just invested $4.5 million in Windsor, just because having a plant in BC doesn't make sense because the real estate is so expensive there, and there are lots of manufacturing units in Windsor that can help grow their auxiliary force and have labor and materials to help them make it in 50% and less cost. So stuff like that, good fun stuff in Canada happening, and I can't wait to see how we can help other people get a piece of this pizza.
That sounds good. I'm wondering, I mean, you were in Salt Lake City, and I, as an American, would say I've lived lots of different places in the US, and there are two states in particular that are not really US, or they're different. One was Texas, and then one was Utah. You know, Utah is a unique beast among all of the states. My wife is from Utah. We're just about having our 40th anniversary, so we have a lot of connections there. Thank you. And she somehow tolerated me for nearly 40 years. But your experience there, then to Chengdu, and with India, and now in Canada, what have been some of your maybe surprises, or whatever your learnings around the culture there? Have you had to make any adjustments? What is your perspective on what's different about doing business in Canada?
Canada is more welcoming to businesses than definitely China. In China, it's difficult to put a plant out there and start a business there as compared to Canada. Canada is more welcoming, like the States. However, people who want to do export, who want to import stuff here, they forget that it's a little tad different from the US, because in all your labels, you need to have French along with your English ingredients. That's one prime thing, that even if you're selling on Etsy or if you are selling to Costco, that's one thing that I keep telling my business people, that don't forget that. And that would go a long way. And here, the fact that you cannot move to the northern part of Canada as easily to the southern part of Canada is something that manufacturing companies have to, or the distribution companies have to keep in mind, because your cost would go triple fold if you have to send stuff to Nunavut or Saskatchewan. So but that's not a problem in India or China or US. So that's one. I feel that's one of the pitfalls, or something that you'll have to make sure that you have included in your costs and in your business plan.
Has the immigration process been fairly amenable to your needs?
Yeah, Canada has welcomed around 401,000 new immigrants in 2022. That's definitely from a backlog of 2021. And I would say Canada has done a good job of having a brain gain with so many people, because all they've done is 401,000 people of express entry who have had master's degree and who have had more than 10 years of experience in core sciences. So I see going forward, a lot of companies would start investing in hiring labor force, cheaper labor force from Canada than any other part of the world, because here a lot we are very big on working from home. Most of our jobs are working from home, and we have the best brains considering our immigration policies and the kind of investments that Canada does for their for education, for starting from having young kids, their education is taken care of, and they do a lot of funding for their college education too. So I see going forward 20 years down the line, a lot of companies would be having their intellectual capitals in Canada.
Fantastic. Your husband, I think, is in technology too, and so he's found a place in Canada as well.
Yeah, he has started a company called Projects 101, which does IT consulting and project management, and in the books of PM Bach to companies here in Windsor and in Toronto. So he's having fun with it.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Thanks for sharing today. And so we're going to go to Barbara Engelbart McKenzie, who similarly has been a Global Chamber Executive Director as well, but she had an opportunity come up that she could not refuse. And so she's been leading groups of entrepreneurs in Edmonton be more successful. And so Barbara, thank you so much for, first of all, your support and collaboration over the years. And then, all of the leadership that you're showing in advancing entrepreneurialism, and even on the global side there in Edmonton. Could you share with us a little bit about the opportunities there and your perspectives on doing business in Canada and around the world?
Absolutely, Doug. Happy to. I'm actually going to share my screen because I have a little bit of a presentation that I can share.
Fantastic.
All right, hopefully everybody can see this. So want to talk a little bit about Edmonton. So our kind of tagline is that we're young, educated, and growing. So Edmonton has one of the youngest populations in Canada. Our average median age is 35, and we have an incredibly educated population and continue to grow. Edmonton metro region is about 1.1 million right now, and we're on a steady track to reach 2 million by 2030. One of the most interesting things about Edmonton is we're actually in the top 3 in the world for artificial intelligence. So we have some really amazing opportunities with that here. We have through the University of Alberta, which is a top 100 ranked university globally. We have AMI, which is an artificial intelligence research hub. We also have the only other Google DeepMind artificial intelligence hub outside of London, England, globally. So that's pretty amazing for us, and lots of people working in AI here, including Richard Sutton, who's one of the absolute leaders. So if you're looking for an opportunity in machine learning and artificial intelligence, Edmonton is really the hub for this right now in North America, and one of the key places to be. As a province, and Alberta has really low corporate taxes. Again, we have a lot of great infrastructure here for manufacturing, and we're one of the fastest growing jurisdictions in North America. There we are, young, educated, and growing. Key sectors that we're really looking at right now are manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. Alberta has a very strong history in oil and gas, as many people know. And we have, because of that, we have built a really strong manufacturing capacity here, and that's just continuing to evolve into all sorts of different manufacturing capacity outside of oil and gas. Health and life sciences, we're starting to see pharmaceuticals come up here. There is an mRNA drug vaccine for COVID being developed here right now, which will also involve production facilities. So lots of health tech here as well, really big technology area. Food and agriculture, again, incredible opportunity and key sector here. we're right beside Saskatchewan. Alberta and Saskatchewan make up probably about 80% of the agricultural production here in Canada for wheat and grains and pulses. So we have a lot of food production here, a lot of agriculture production, agri-tech as well, and then energy and clean technology. I obviously mentioned oil and gas, but what we're really seeing here is transition. So we're seeing all sorts of energy really grow, and one of the most interesting opportunities in Alberta right now, or two of the most interesting, are hydrogen and lithium. So we have a huge amount of hydrogen research going on, some really big plants being built around the hydrogen sector, as well as lithium. So lithium is a very highly sought after commodity for batteries. And we have some really interesting production and manufacturing going on here, because one of the offshoots of our oil sands is actually that we get lithium and we can produce that. We're located really centrally, and we have some of the shortest trade routes to Asia. So from Edmonton, the port of Prince Rupert cuts down the amount of time that it takes goods to transport. So Port of Prince Rupert is located in northern British Columbia. We're also a circumpolar route, so to anywhere on the globe. And we have one of the shortest trade routes to Asia and China. We also see a lot of refueling and cargo being done here out of the Edmonton International Airport. We have a free trade zone at our airport as well, which adds to that access. And we're seeing a lot of trade and cargo come through here now, because we're also very well connected by road and rail across North America as well. So some of the really interesting opportunities I was talking about are in manufacturing. We also have great, again, in food and beverage, agriculture, and some of the biggest cannabis production plants in Canada here, which, if you know, cannabis is legal now in Canada. So we're really seeing a lot of this, and some opportunities in hemp as well. We are also leading in health, so medical tech and medical devices, a lot of health research at our University of Alberta, as well as biotech and pharma. And then, as I was talking about machine learning and artificial intelligence, digital media, we have a huge esports and e-gaming here, BioWare being one of those key companies. We have lots of that going on here. So some of those opportunities are definitely in artificial intelligence and energy. Plant protein and food and beverage manufacturing is another fast growing opportunity here, as well as health AI. So that is my little spiel about Edmonton.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's extraordinary. Just so many different things going on. Tell us a little bit about you. What are you involved with these days?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur for many years. So my husband and I currently run a company using drones and UAVs to collect visual and spatial data. We work with a bunch of different industries, including construction, oil and gas, and we do a lot of work at the airport as well. He was one of the first drone pilots globally to fly a night flight at an international airport to do testing for equipment. So really involved in a lot of work on the drone side. Then on my full-time gig is actually working with Innovate Edmonton, which is the lead innovation agency for the city of Edmonton. So we promote innovation, technology, and digitization. So we work with a lot of machine learning companies, artificial intelligence, our health tech companies, and we're seeing amazing growth here. Edmonton is the top ranked technology growth city in Canada. We've seen a lot of investment here globally, over $100 million in investment in 2021 into Alberta-based technology companies. So really focusing a lot on innovation, but then we're seeing a ton of stuff in that clean tech space as well.
Fantastic. I'd like to circle back with you on the cannabis, possibly. The deal that I talked about earlier between Argentina, Canada, and Mexico is cannabis, and it's based off of the fact that Global Chamber was fortunate to host President Vicente Fox fairly famous president of Mexico on multiple levels. He's now putting in dispensaries in Mexico ahead of the legalization of marijuana in Mexico, which is expected to happen in March. And so because of that, he's working with Global Chamber, and we're looking for cannabis sources. And one of them is in, the first big one is in Canada. And also, just while I'm mentioning that, Costa Rica is also legalizing cannabis as well. And so anybody that's involved in that area and would be interested in potentially finding ways to get supply into either of those countries, please contact me. Be happy to talk.
Absolutely. We have one of the largest cannabis plants right here at the Edmonton International Airport. It's like a state-of-the-art cannabis plant with Aurora Cannabis, as well as Canopy Growth is based out of Alberta as well. So lots of opportunities for that here. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Great information. Before we fully open up to everybody else, which I guess we'll do now, but I would like to have Catherine Bussmann go next. She's a longtime member of Global Chamber. She's been involved with the localization industry and a great marketing. In the last several years, her focus on sustainability and being connected to that industry has been just extraordinary. I know that's certainly been a key focus for you, Catherine. Is there anything you'd like to share there, or anything else that's going on that we should know about from doing business in Canada? You're based in Toronto. Oh, are you there, Catherine?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks. I mean, I haven't prepared any presentation, but yes, I'm based in Toronto. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I see some familiar faces, some of whom are also in the Toronto area. I see Sultan, I see Tom, I see Gary. So I'm in Toronto. Of course, Toronto is the capital of the province of Ontario, Ontario being the most populous province in Canada. And the greater Toronto area, I just double checked on Wikipedia, we're at about 6 million people of population here in the greater Toronto area. So it's the largest city in Canada. It's also, as of the other day, I saw a news report that is now officially the most expensive city in Canada. It used to be, up until recently, that Vancouver real estate was still more expensive than Toronto real estate, but that is now changed. Toronto is now officially the most expensive place to buy real estate. Which is, I guess good if you're already you already own real estate in Toronto, but if you're trying to get in, it's a little challenging. We have lots going on, of course, in Toronto. We have some really exciting innovation hubs. The one that I'm most familiar with is the Mars Discovery District. It's an innovation hub for startups, mostly Canadian startups, not just in Toronto, but across Canada, who are in certain key sectors. So they focus on fintech, they focus on clean tech, they focus on health tech and enterprise technology. Those are the big sort of buckets that they are focused on. And there's lots happening. There's a lot of collaboration with the government and crown corporations like EDC, Export Development Canada. They have a lot of programs for companies that are growing, and my angle is always the global angle. So I'm always kind of looking out for the ones that are set to start expanding internationally. I'm an international marketing strategist, so I'm looking to help companies that are ready to expand into overseas markets. And not so much the US, because that's not really where I can add most value, but I'm more focused on ones that are interested in particularly the European markets. And as of last year, my focus, as Doug mentioned, is really clean tech. So, and in the widest sense of the word, of course, clean tech isn't sort of an industry. It's I guess you could look at it as a sort of a layer that applies to every other industry, right? How do we make our global economy cleaner, greener, and more sustainable, right? And so depending on which industry you are working in, there are different solutions of how to do that. And there's a lot of really exciting things happening right here in Toronto and across Canada that will get us there if we just can invest in them and scale them internationally. So Really excited to meet everyone here. And for those of you who don't already know me, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've already put the link to my LinkedIn profile in the chat here. And yeah, I mean, I would say if you're looking for help with localization, Sultan Ghaznawi and Gary Guo here present are two experts in that area. So I don't claim to be a localization expert at all. I'm just sort of the connector between the clients that I'm trying to help and the localization industry, which honestly, the localization industry is sort of my happy place because I'm a language and culture nerd. And so I hang out with localization folks all the time. And so it's great to see some Canadian ones right here in this virtual room today. Thanks, Doug.
Oh, my pleasure. You're also a podcaster, one of the best podcasts that I listen to every day.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
How can people find that?
So it's called the Worldly Marketer Podcast. Some of you are already familiar with it. I've had Doug on my podcast, and so it's a podcast about global marketing in sort of the widest sense. I kind of the mission of the podcast is to explore what does it take to grow a global brand in this day and age, in this digital world that we live in. And honestly, now going forward for 2022 and beyond, I'm really looking to focus on, how do we create a greener global brand going forward? How do we, what does it take to, well, first of all, does green and global, is that an oxymoron? I don't think it is. I think in fact, green brands need to go global more than any other brands. I think that's kind of going to be crucial if we want to, leave a livable planet for our children and grandchildren. So I think it's very important to make the connection between green and global. And that's what I'm trying to explore with my podcast. So you can tune in, you'll find it on anywhere you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, you should be able to find the Worldly Marketer Podcast. And Sultan has a really good one too, by the way. Sultan's is more about localization specifically.
I thought of you around the sustainability. Last night, we did a big event. Global Chambers headquarters is moving into the Thunderbird headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. And we did a big event on semiconductor supply chain, and Intel was there. And one question that came in is, how can you put semiconductor factories in the desert, which they tend to do when water is so important and for the industry, and you take water? And so the answer was great. And that's when I thought of you. 80% of the water gets recycled back. So they've got technologies to be able to do that. Now they're actually going into the mountains and other places to reduce evaporation and other techniques to basically be water neutral in Arizona. That's their plan to do. And I thought, wow, that's very cool, right? It's like, as I'm a chemical engineer originally, so I'm thinking, yeah, I can see how you could do as far as you can do in your plant, but then they've actually gone outside the plant now to work on getting 100% neutral, which is a great way to think about, I think, sustainability overall. So thank you for your work there and all your work. Really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing today.
Thank you, Doug.
Limor, would you like to say something? Limor is originally from Israel. She's in Vancouver, and she does some great marketing as well on the other side of the country. Do you have anything to contribute in terms of your experience in landing in Canada, and also the work that you're doing now, the opportunities that you're seeing?
Thank you, Doug. Yes, I would love to. I'm Limor Friedman. I am originally from Israel, as you said. I live in Vancouver for the last 13 years. My background is from news, from journalism. And when I came here, I opened a business. And currently what we're doing is we make you a host of your YouTube show. So, and I had a great meeting with Catherine because we were talking about sustainability. That leads me to one of the best shows we create is with Rob Arthur, and he, the last 3 shows we created related to the supply chain crisis, and we discovered that there is an organization in Canada that called Reshoring Canada, and they are trying to bring companies back to produce in the continent, so Mexico, US, Canada. So if you're not familiar, I'll share it with you here. And the only thing we're asking is to subscribe to our news channel so you can see the next episodes. What we basically do with my news channel is we take the video to the next level, because each one of us can do probably a video by yourself for 1 minute here and there. But when you host a show and you interview other people, like Rob is talking to a former member of parliament regarding the reshoring, or other different subjects that related to him that reflect on his on his background and how professional he is, and it shows how it gives him the credibility. And that's what we're trying to do here. We can do it anywhere in the world. And for the next show, that I had a great conversation with Catherine about this, because we would like to tackle the social impact and environmentally friendly impact, and how is it actually measurable? Can we measure how environmentally friendly we are, or everybody who's putting on his website, I donate to frogs, or I donate to, I don't know, to another organization. Does it mean that this is environmentally friendly while you're printing 300 copies of, I don't know, of a booklet on the other hand? So how is it actually measurable? We're looking for someone that can talk about this. So if you know anyone, feel free to contact me. I would love to hear. I'm sharing here our related show, and I think you can see what's going on in Canada and related to the supply chain crisis, and my contact info. Thank you.
Thanks, Limor. The next person I'd like to chat with, and then we'll open up the floor, is Troy, if you're still there. Troy does cross-border work primarily between the US and Canada, and is very familiar with a lot of the dynamics and a lot of the hot industries. Troy, are you available to chat? And appreciate your support and collaboration as well.
Sure. Thanks, Doug. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Troy DeFrank. I'm based in Seattle. I have a lot of connections on the Canadian side. So I was a former trade commissioner at the Seattle consulate, helping Canadian companies do business in the Seattle market for many years. And then the last 5 years have been consulting for various provincial governments across Canada, including British Columbia, Quebec, and Global Affairs Canada. Recently launched a new business that basically helps foreign tech companies quickly and affordably set up subsidiaries in Canada so that they can leverage R&D credits, immigration channels, partnerships in Canada, a lot of the things that you guys have all been talking about. And so we're just getting that kind of launched, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, really interested in a lot of the things that folks have kind of mentioned here. I heard cannabis was mentioned a few times. Definitely an industry that's I think pretty interesting. And actually beyond that, we're seeing a lot of interest on sort of mental health and wellness, experimental mental health and awareness around the psychedelics. As usual, Canada seems to be one step ahead of a lot of other folks. And so we have a lot of founders and investors on the US side that are kind of interested to see where that's headed in Canada and how they could potentially kind of partner up there. So I think it's a really, really interesting market. A lot of great ties between Canada and the US and elsewhere. So yeah, happy to chime in or chat with folks about that. And thanks, Doug, for letting me have a chance to talk here.
I appreciate it. It's funny when you mentioned that. I thought of when we last talked with President Fox's office. We basically consummated the deal for cannabis, and then they focused. They shifted completely and said mushrooms. Mushrooms is hot, you know. And then he gave me the name of it, and I didn't quite understand the name, so I had to Google it several times to find the spelling of it and all of that. But that seems to be kind of like their next focus. In fact, he's like, cannabis is old news. It's like, mushrooms are what's in. So I don't know if that's the case with Canada or not, but in Mexico it certainly is. There's a new governor coming in, or who's going to run for election in Oaxaca. I know I saw Gabby on the line. She's our executive director of Querétaro. The governor who's running, or the candidate, is expected to win in Oaxaca, and he has some sort of an angle on mushrooms that they're going to be. So something to think about. I'd like to open up the floor. We've got about 15 minutes. Who would like to say anything, either about opportunities that you see, other perspectives on Canada. We'd like to wrap up at the top of the hour. We'll have others of these events. So if you don't get to speak today, there'll be other opportunities, but it'd be great if we heard from some of the other folks in the audience. Who would like to speak first? Don't be shy, just unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susana Gagiola, and I work for Collectron International Management, a company that helps manufacturing companies to expand their business into Mexico. We have operations in the state of Sonora and also in Querétaro. I just heard that Gabriela is located in Querétaro, so I'm based here as well. So we do have a couple of Canadian companies currently manufacturing in Mexico, in Querétaro, for the aerospace industry. We're helping them in all the administrative services for them to just focus on the manufacturing of their product. So very nice meeting you all.
So this is another area that's hot, right? I don't think there's been a stronger year for investment in Mexican manufacturing because people are looking for resourcing out of China and either moving to Malaysia or Vietnam or some to India, not as many as you would expect, and Mexico. And Mexico makes a lot of sense because has access to the US market, and there's a long history of success there. And so congratulations with Collectron. Definitely connect up with Susana. Susana, did you say you're in Querétaro, or I thought you were in Nogales?
No, well, our headquarters are in Nogales, but I'm based here in Querétaro. I'm living here in Querétaro.
Okay.
So I've been here for the last 6 years now.
Okay, so Gabby, you need to get connected to her for sure. Yeah, that would be great if you're
Doug,
still on.
if I may say one thing about Susana. We interviewed Maria Elena from Collectron, I think a couple of months ago, regarding the vibe on moving back to Mexico. And I think one of the details we have is that in the first 9 months of 2021, Mexico actually grew up in another $1 billion just from bringing companies to produce and manufacture in Mexico. So it's from $23 billion, they grew to $24 billion in 9 months, just because companies moved out of China.
The Collectron was the first shelter company, over 50 years experience. And so definitely benefiting, definitely a connection you should know or have access to for people that you know. Thank you, Suzanne. Who else would like to speak?
I guess I'd speak. Tom Hockett. I'm in Toronto, but the Toronto Raptors renamed us the Sixth. And anyways, I'm about helping companies grow with their talent development, innovation processes, and getting companies into the next level. I'm a fractional business development guy. I'm starting a new client with that does it's called K Micro, which is out of Los Angeles, but they have some offices here in Toronto. So that's going to be the Microsoft full suite of products that I'm going to be offering. I've been recently working with the Internet of Things, IoT, infrastructure for organizations, whether that be manufacturing or smart buildings. I'm also involved with getting people back to work and play in safe indoor facilities. So in the process of launching a new website called Connect for Healthy Places. That's not officially launched, but we're talking about technologies that will help people be safer and healthier in indoor facilities, which we spend 90% of our time in our life, unless you're maybe in Mexico, which maybe you spend more time outside. But anyways, anyways, that's me. Doug, this is great that you facilitated this interaction. And you know, there are a few other people here, Lothar and Catherine, that I know already as well, but love to meet everybody else and see how we can help grow businesses.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We did this kind of event over 500 times last year around the world, just for the purpose of getting people connected to new opportunities and the trusted tribe. Are you, I don't remember, are you a member or not? I know we talked about
Not yet, but we've got some things we can do together that are pretty interesting that I'm just finalizing with some programming with the the vendor
Okay.
management stuff. So we need to reconnect in a week or two.
Okay, yeah, no pressure, but I just wanted, I remember we talked and I thought it sounded like a really good fit for you to be
I think
part
it
of the
does. Yeah.
tribe. Who else would like to chat? Who else has anything? to share?
Gabriela.
Gabriela, how are you?
Yeah,
Mining, we
good.
haven't even talked about mining in Canada.
Oh yeah, mining in Vancouver. There are hundreds of mining companies headquartered in Vancouver. But whatever you need, I work a lot with mining companies, investment, suppliers. I'm helping suppliers to enter the Mexican market. But also now, there are companies approaching me because they want companies from other countries and from Canada and the US, they want exactly to manufacture in Mexico, and they are looking for facilities. So maybe I can connect with Susana.
Yeah.
And I am supporting them to manufacture in Mexico or the USA too, in the border.
Okay.
So whatever you need, I'm doing that because Querétaro is very strong in automotive and aerospace. And
Yep.
as I'm the executive director and people is contacting me, so whatever you need, any help, any support, as Doug says, how can I help? I took your phrase. How can I help?
And Gabriela has worked for the Canadian government, I believe, in the past, right? Parlez-vous français?
Ouais, je parle français. Yeah, I used to work for the trade commissioner of the Canadian embassy in Mexico before moving to the US.
Got it.
So I know well Canadians, how they work, and Canada, Mexico. I studied in Montreal. I have a postgraduate degree from I should say, my heart and the business with Canada. Thank you, Doug.
Fantastic. I appreciate it. Our speaker for Montreal wasn't able to join us today, so we didn't get kind of that whole, I mean, there's a whole different culture going on there, so we'll have to save that for another time, focus in on Montreal, maybe specifically in Quebec. So thank you for sharing. We've just got a few more minutes left. Who else has something to share? Happy to hear from you.
Hi.
Yes, Sadia.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning. Thank you, Doc, for the invitation. Thank you to be among you. I'm Sadia Alakar from Montreal, from Quebec, and I'm CEO of Emporia Industry Connect. We connect industries and focusing on the fourth revolution. So we prepare and promote Canadian industry to the world international scene. So we facilitate and create a business opportunity in technology, manufacturing, and agri-tech sectors. And we assure the international representatives of the companies from here. And we support also to find clients over the world. And we create also and organize the global events. And I'm focusing also to empower women in agri-tech and the fourth revolution manufacturing. And the vision is to bring globally. So we have a great, I'm very active in 4 continents and especially in Africa. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Very timely that you mentioned that, because our Global Chamber Accra Ghana chapter, the next meetup that they have is the 22nd of February, and it's about agriculture, technology around agriculture, and digital transformation around agriculture. If you haven't connected to our Accra Ghana chapter, it's kind of a bit of a gateway for Global Chamber into Africa, because our executive director there is amazing, Ruby Golo. So definitely 2/22/22 or February 22nd of 22 at 2 p.m. GMT, as it turns out, for that event. Definitely check that out. And thank you for sharing. Really,
yeah, I'm partner with these people in here in Canada. So thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. We probably have time for maybe 1 or 2 more folks, but you'll need to be quick.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Doug. This is
Oh,
Gustavo.
Gustavo.
How are you doing?
Favorite people of all time. Oh my goodness, Gustavo.
It's been a few years. It's been a few years. I'll just introduce myself quickly. First of all, congratulations on the Global Chamber, the whole initiative, and how this has grown over the years. It's a wonderful success. I think it's fantastic. And just for the people, I think the majority that don't know me, I was born and raised in Canada, Montreal. Spent quite a few years here, and then I lived in Spain, Madrid, for 24 years. I was part of the Canada-Spain Chamber of Commerce, looking for business and helping companies between Canada going to Spain and Spain coming to Canada. I'm actually based in Ottawa now for the last 6 years. I did a slight change of sort of career path at one point. I'm an electrical engineer from McGill and stuff, but I have been focused the last 5 years on cybersecurity and information security, which has really been, I'd say, a tremendous need for all corporations, especially even now while COVID. I mean, we've seen the number of hacks and attempts and such just go skyrocketing. So we have, I have an entrepreneurial spirit, have started up some companies back in Spain, and I have found that being an entrepreneur, you can also be an entrepreneur. I work at Bell Canada right now, Bell Mobility, I should say. You can also do some entrepreneurial things within Bell. One of the things we did was we started a university program, a cybersecurity master's degree with the University of New Brunswick, where we fund the scholarship for candidates worldwide to bring talent to Canada. We'll fund the 1 year. They do some research for us. It's a paid internship, paid scholarship, and then we even offer them the job for minimum 2 years after they graduate. So it's a great way to find the best cybersecurity talent worldwide and bring them to Canada. And it's gotten quite popular. We've got many more applicants from worldwide than we can accept in the University of New Brunswick program. And there's some other companies now that are very interested in chipping in and, paying those scholarships to bring the people over. So it's a win-win for everybody. So anyway, that's a very brief intro, but I love networking. I love meeting with people, and have been a little bit under the radar, so focused right now on securing Bell's network, Bell's mobility 5G network, end-to-end, coast to coast to coast, but looking to reconnect with a lot of people. So thank you for this opportunity, Doug.
Thank you. And thank you for kicking off Global Chamber Madrid, which we now have a team there in Madrid. So we should get you connected there
Sure.
as well. I see a variety of really great people. We've run out of time. So Nihi Sanusi, who's in Lagos, Nigeria. Definitely, if you're doing any work in Africa, connect with Nihi. He's, of course, a member of Global Chamber, as most of you are. And then I see Phil Desant. Maybe we'll finish with Phil, and then Cesar. Any last comments? Phil, are you available to chat? What's your view of Canada from southern Brazil? Are you available to chat? Oh, maybe not. Well, if you are interested in South America and Brazil, definitely connect up with Phil Desant of Global Chamber Executive Director, who was our global advisor in Portugal and then moved to Brazil. Is that you?
Sorry, Doug, I was on mute, and so I'm very happy to be here. Sorry for that. And of course, Canada is a very important partner for Brazil. So probably a lot of possibilities we can develop between Brazil and Canada over the next months and years. So I would be very, very happy, and I'm at anyone's disposal to discuss about some opportunities so that we can develop business all together, help companies who would like to develop business in Brazil, as well as I will do the same, of course, for companies here in Brazil who would like to develop in Canada.
Fantastic. Well, let's pull you into that conversation for sure. Thank you, Phil, and thanks for all your work. Cesar, why don't we leave it to you as a last word? What should we know? What's going on? Cesar Trabanco is the head of Warm Connections at Global Chamber. He's vice president of business services, and the most important thing we do at Global Chamber every day, and gives us great pleasure, is to connect people to new opportunities, and so they can get new clients, and that makes us very happy every single day. So thank you for members, and keep reaching out and getting help. Cesar, what's your view of the world, and what would you like to share in closing?
Thank you, Doug, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I think it's great. I think it's the first time we do a Canada event like this, right?
Could be.
Yeah, it could be. So it's been very interesting. I've been taking some notes, and some of you already requested me to make some connections, and so I'm going to be working on that. And then I would like to invite you for next Friday. We have our virtual League of Opportunities. I just added the link in the chat box. I will have a Canadian company presenting, and Andrea, I saw Andrea. I think Andrea is here in the call. She's going to be presenting their SBL from Calgary. And so you will be represented next week in our league. So thank you very much, everyone. See you around.
Thanks.
And
Thanks everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.